Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Autistic Assemble. Today, I'm joined with Kenny, and today we're going to be speaking about autism. Kenny's going to be sharing his experience, and it's going to be really cool. And we're going to be speaking about Kenny's lovely artwork as well because he loves to do that. So, Kenny, would you mind introducing yourself?
My name's Kenny. I'm autistic. I'm 44 years old. I just turned 44, and I went to school for HVAC this last or 2 years ago, and I'm an HVAC technician for a commercial company. But after work, I like to paint and do art, and it's art has helped me. It helps me be calm like after work, and it just helps me be able to focus and show people um, kind of what I experience. It's sometimes it's hard for me to explain in words how I feel about something. I know a lot of autistic people, probably most, have problems with that. Um, but I feel like I can do that in my art. And so it became a very big outlet for me, and I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, yeah. You must have to have a lot of concentration when you do it because maybe it takes time to do it sometimes.
It does, and I think that's kind of my attention to detail is kind of what got me started doing it. I just watched a TikTok video a few times, just one video. I watched it over and over, and I kind of watched how it flowed, how the person moved, the consistency of the mixtures, and just everything. And I just was like, well, I can do that. I kind of put it all together like as a science, almost like an algorithm, and just being able to do that and come out in my garage and focus. I just got a huge passion for it. I decided to start painting. I'd never done art before, but I decided to start painting. It happened during the COVID shutdown. Was the very first time I'd done art, but I wanted to create something for my house, and I I've kind of yet to do that yet. Because everything I create pretty much is kind of sold. So
Yeah, yeah. Like it keeps you busy, don't it?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Like I remember when I was at school, Kenny, and I had an art exam, and like it was weird because I'm used to talking to people and stuff like that, and then you got everyone's so concentrated, like even if you move like an inch, a person looks at you, and it's almost like you should get and watch while you're painting. And it took about 2 days to do this design, and at the time I thought I was awful, and then I did it, and then I thought it looks pretty cool because it's on a canvas. It was so you paint on a canvas and it looked pretty cool in the end. I had no idea what I was drawing or painting. I just I think that's a good thing about art. Like if you're lacking ideas, you just go whatever maybe random, and then it just comes out to be something.
Well, exactly. And at a certain point we can become they say that we can become our own worst critic, on what we've created. And, you know, it's easy to lose sight of what we've done. But what I've learned is that just because I didn't like the way that came out myself doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't, or it doesn't mean that you never have to throw a canvas away. You can always paint over it. You can always try again, and that's a beautiful thing about it is like it's your own ideas in your head put out, on a space where other people can see it.
Yeah, I think that's completely it. Like, is that what you do sometimes? Like, you, you don't if you have like if you because you've done loads. If you're lacking ideas, you just go go with the flow and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
yeah. Like so what kind of paintings have you done recently, Kenny? Would you say?
Um, I've done some. I'm working on some ocean ones. There's one here that it's kind of messy. I'll show you. I'm still working. It it has so many layers, and I keep going over it, and it's not done. But this is kind of one of them.
Oh, that's pretty
Uh,
cool.
very abstract. Very, you know, just kind of crazy. But I like doing these because it has so many different, mediums. I've got spray paint. I've got markers, pens. I've got acrylic paints. I've got, just everything you can imagine. Some ink on there, just everything that you can imagine. And um, I don't know, it's fun. It's cool. And sometimes I have to take a step back and take a few days and ask myself, what is this missing? And sometimes it's, just the most abstract thing. Like I need to add words to it,
Mm.
and then it becomes, it loses the dullness to me and it becomes something, beautiful or something.
Yeah, yeah. Like does each one you do, but say the one you do in a moment, does sometimes one take longer than another one you're doing, or does some take short amounts of time, or does it depend how long it takes or how short it takes that you're doing one?
Definitely. Like the piece I just showed you, I've been working on that for a few weeks just because it has so many layers. Originally, it was a painting that had a bunch of textures on it and had that I was going to do for somebody, but I didn't like the way that it came out, and so I just started using it for something else. And um, but sometimes a piece that I do can take me, you know, 30 minutes or an hour, not very long. And it just depends. It depends on my medium if I'm doing spray paint or acrylic or what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Um, like I know before we started, Kenny, we started spoke a little bit about autistic burnout. Like, do you get that with doing your artwork?
Yeah, especially the more that time has gone by is I get very burnout. Sometimes I get a lot of orders at one time, and people need it by a certain date, and I love to be able to do it, but my brain gets so overwhelmed with all the things that I'm doing, plus painting, and I almost get stuck, and it's hard for me even to come out in my garage and create. Um, and sometimes that'll go on for a couple of months, and I don't like it, and but it's hard um, when I put myself under the pressure of creating what people want when they want it, instead of just creating what I feel.
Yeah, yeah. Because I guess if you feel rushed, there's not going to be as good for them if they want it by a certain date sometimes. Because it's you're the one doing it. You should be able to take maybe as long as you want if they want it to be perfect.
Right. And usually most people aren't rushing me. It's I guess it's I don't know what um if this is like an autistic thing, but I have a really hard time trying to figure out what other people are thinking as far as like when they want it. Are they mad at me because it's taken me an extra week, or how long it's really going to take me with everything that I have going on? So sometimes I tell people, "Oh yeah, I'll have it in a week," and I'm like, "There's no way because I'm so busy having to do other things that I can't even get it done." And then I tell them, "I'm sorry, it'll be next week," and then by the time I get it to them, it's been a month, and but I don't know how to process that before I do it
Mm.
because I don't know. I just end up feeling bad. I feel like people are mad at me, which they never really are, but I'm stressing out.
Yeah, you kind of feel you're letting them down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's hard. Like when people expect you to do things and perhaps maybe 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 next time if you say someone that you get ready in the week and you kind of feel like that you might not be able to get it during that week, maybe say 2 weeks or 3 weeks perhaps. So it just gives you a little bit more time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I think autistic trait it's hard to I don't know how to say it, but it's something to do with like hard to know read time or understand how long something might take.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I completely agree because you kind of like, I guess when you're doing it, you don't want to spend a long time on one piece. You want to complete that as soon as possible, probably in your mind, and then you, and then you're thinking, oh, it's I might have to do it a bit longer because I've got to add this bit in, I've got to do another layer, I've got to do something else.
Yeah, or something happens and you're like, oh no, like we were talking about before, like the resin gets little dust particles in it, and then I have to end up sanding it down, and then I'm trying to find the right polish to make it shiny again, and I can't find it because the only solution is in the UK, and I'm in the United States,
Hmm.
and then I get real stressed out, and I'm like, yeah. But I enjoy it. Sometimes I'm learning to my counselor and I are working on, me being able to say no, um, and saying, it may take me 2 months to be able to get this done. Um, I'm trying to learn to be like to do that.
Yeah. It's hard to say no to people, really, like because you don't want to hurt their feelings or upset them or say because really it should be ready when you decide, not ready when they want it. Like I know perhaps maybe people might get it for maybe someone's birthday or something like that, but if they say something like that, maybe they should be contacting you in advance or a lot sooner, not rushing it because painting takes a long time. Like it don't just take 5 minutes. It takes um depending what maybe they want. Like you spoke about oceans. Like ocean has a lot of detail. Like as a sea, you've got the clouds, you've got the sun if you want it, sunset. People. So there's so many small details on one piece of work.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I've done it and like it takes a long time and then like I haven't done painting in a long time, but it was it is definitely fun to do. And it's good you enjoy it though, Penny. It's good that you like to do it.
Well, and I think one of the biggest things that the most joy that I've gotten out of it is when I get to meet parents. There's a lot of parents of children on the spectrum. They buy from me because they feel like they're supporting their kids. Maybe I'm not sure, but they feel like that sometimes like maybe I give them hope for their own son or daughter. And I've got to meet a few, here in Texas, um, and it's been fun. Uh, to be able to do that because I know for me, when I was a young kid, if I could have met, somebody, because I was one of my biggest special interests from when I was a kid was fishing, and so I always wanted to meet the professional fishermen that were on TV, and I remember getting to do that, but I always wanted to go
Yeah,
fishing with them. And I know how much that would have meant to me to be able to do that. And so, you know, I want to be able to do that for, some of these kids is go and meet them and, make a painting for them. And, um, it gives the parents hope and it gives the kids, hope too, um, that they can be creative, they can make a good life and, you know, just be successful and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you still like fishing now? Is that something you continue to like?
I do, and I for the first time in my life, I've finally been able to buy a boat. I've never had a boat my entire life, and so painting has been able to help me buy a boat, which is good. So a lot of times I get to do that on the weekends, and oh, it's just nice to be able to go out on in the water and it's calm and just be able to sit there and watch the sunset.
Yeah.
Very very calming. Not a lot of people involved too, so
Yeah. 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 Like nice and peaceful, no humans.
yes. What kind of hobbies do you enjoy?
Um, I like my main hobby is Doctor Who. I love Doctor Who. Um, it's my main hobby since I was 5. Um, and yeah, I like all kind of fiction and adventure, kind of stuff. Um, I'm quite interested in sport as well. I like different sports. Um, but I find with interest, a lot of people in the autism community relate, and sometimes they look like the same interests than us. Sometimes they won't. I guess that's life. Not everyone's gonna like the same thing. It's a good thing. um, but um, but yeah, like a lot of people who come on my podcast, Kenny, spot the TARDIS blue box behind me, even if they don't like Doctor Who. So it's quite funny.
I just noticed it behind you.
Yeah, just there. Um, Unfortunately, it's not a time machine because there's only a wardrobe, but
That would be nice.
yeah, yeah. We can. I don't know where, like, where would you go, Kenny? If you could go anywhere, like, in a time machine, where would you go?
You mean in my lifetime, the time that I've lived, maybe?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. It can be any time if you want.
well, I definitely want to see the dinosaurs.
Yeah,
I
that'd be cool.
definitely love to go, um, just be able to see that, just experience that and just kind of see what it was really like, then. And but that would just be for a moment. But um, I don't know. I don't know what else I would want to do. I know if it was in my lifetime, I would probably want to go back when I was maybe 5 or 6 and if I knew what I know now about my autism and stuff like that, and I could tell my younger self that everything's going to be okay, and these are the reasons you experience these things, and then I feel like maybe um, I would have done a few things different,
Yeah.
um, and been able to forgive myself because when I was in elementary school and especially when I got to high school, I was bullied a lot. And I didn't have any friends at my school. Um, and the kids would spit on me on the back of the bus when I stepped back there. And, it was just a constant trying to avoid loud places. And I didn't understand why. I didn't like crowds. So I was always the first one to class. So I didn't have to be in the hallways. I always carried all of my books with me.
Mm.
Um, didn't have to go to my locker, and I never went to lunch. And so I think I would just go back then and just kind of let myself know that my brain is just different. I'm not stupid or anything. My brain's just different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. Like I've bullied as well, in school, and I would eat my lunch sometimes in the toilet where no one would I wouldn't get like kind of bullied in there. um but yeah, it's very hard. Like I was the same. Like if I knew now when I was younger, like I was diagnosed when I was younger, but I just didn't know much about it, what autism was, or didn't really accept it for myself. Um, s- I guess I just thought it was a bad thing. And like I weren't good at certain things because of that, and Like now I know. Like I think it's all to do with confidence, really, um, as well, because you're not really confident when you're younger. I think if you've got autism or not, really. Um, but then you get older, unfortunately. You have to get older. And then we know more. Like there's a whole community out there that we didn't know about when we were kids.
And I think that's what's good about us having this community and social media like this, is that we now have a platform to be able to, reach people that are, younger, and so they know, what it was like for us, and that we experienced the same thing that they were experiencing. But we can also help them understand things that they're going to experience once they get older, or how to deal with certain things. And that's what I love about so many different people that have so many different big platforms and a lot of followers, um, where they talk about autism, and what sensory things, and food and utensils and clothing, um, and bullying, and school and accommodations. And there's just so much information out there now that, that people like us, once they get older, they're like, oh yeah, I can ask for these things, or this is what I'm experiencing. And so since I'm experiencing this, I can do this,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah,
Or if I'm starting to experience something, I can recognize it before something a meltdown happens, and I can remove myself because I know what other people have said. And so I think it's just very cool that a lot of people have that now. And I think it's our job as adults to, um, continue to relay that message of everything's going to be okay.
yeah, yeah. Because like it's very hard at the start, like we say, and um, like like in a way which is I think like when people get diagnosed maybe as an adult or later on in life, it's not all bad. At least you know what it is at that particular time. I think it's good to get an early diagnosis as well, but it's just your only thing there is you're young and you're kind of maybe more vulnerable in a way because you don't know as much about it and you won't. You still if you get diagnosed about I was diagnosed at 9 and I still didn't really know much about it. I know it's like little school. Um, what age was you diagnosed, Kenny?
I wasn't diagnosed until 2019. Um, and it's kind of, I think it's a lot of the same story that a lot of adults my age have now. Is I was diagnosed with ADHD, but I was in special classes when I was younger. And it was funny because everybody else that I was in that class with was on the spectrum,
Mm,
but I was the ADHD. And but I didn't. Nobody knew really about autism. Everybody had this idea of Rain Man. That's what autism is, and and so they didn't know until the last few years, what else it can look like, especially in girls, and the masking. And what they also found out is that, they're finding out is that um, a lot of boys that have more like feminine qualities and not so much like testosterone in their body also exhibit, this the ability to mask like women. And so I think that was kind of one of my things, was like, for me, is I was kind of, a little bit feminine when I was younger, and people would say things, and but I was able to hide. I learned to hide the things that I was experiencing, like the misunderstanding of what people were saying and stuff like that. So I wasn't diagnosed until 2019, and I was misdiagnosed with pretty much everything else. And I finally got my diagnosis, and I actually was reevaluated on Friday to have a, I think it's like a more updated diagnosis.
okay. Yeah, like I think in this kind of era, what we're in, I think you find a lot more people get diagnosed like around a bit later on in life, than like but back when I was diagnosed. a lot of people, well, a lot of boys, because about my age, were getting diagnosed. Um, which you can have a good thing and a bad thing about like when you were diagnosed. Perhaps a bad thing. I think any diagnosis is great, like when you get it, because you may just like you may think you are autistic maybe earlier on, but like you say, you just get misdiagnosed with it a lot of the time, and then like how were you? How did you feel when you got that diagnosis though, Kenny? Like um autism.
Um, well, I think I before I got diagnosed was I was the one who figured it out because one day I experienced I was we were on vacation and we went to a radio store and there was a guy in the parking lot helping us that worked at the store and we were talking to him and after we were done talking to him and I felt like I had ended the conversation, he didn't leave the conversation and so I was like he didn't realize that the conversation was over. And so somebody else had told me that I had done something like that before. And so I started just like Googling little things and you know, not realizing that was a social cue. And then I, all of these things I was like, okay, well, I also experienced something like this. I experienced something like this. And it was all ADHD, autism, ADHD, autism, ADHD, autism. And I was like, okay, so here, you know, here's this. I'm figuring out that really quickly that I'm on the spectrum, whether people think I am or not. And then I remember looking on YouTube and I saw a video by Tony Atwood. I'm sure you do you know who he is?
I think I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote one of the big books on Asperger's syndrome a long time ago, and well, his son dealt with some addiction problems, and he had already wrote this book. He was in the middle of writing this book on Asperger's, and his son had gone to prison because of drugs and alcohol and stuff like that, and um, they didn't even realize he was on the spectrum until they were watching videos of him. His own dad, who was writing these books and both in you know while he was in prison they figured out that he was on the spectrum and you know I dealt with some addiction things too and I remember I was like oh my gosh that's my story you know the things that he experienced and I sent it to my mom and she goes oh my gosh that's you and so like immediately like I just started to feel like I'm okay and things are you know things make sense now I can forgive myself because of this thing in the past and this thing in the past and this thing in the past because it's not because I was stupid. It was because I'm autistic, right? And I don't even like that word, but it's not because you know what I thought I was, and it was dumb, and so it just felt really good. And so by the time I got to the doctor, we had gotten records from when I was a child and some of the diagnosis in schools and stuff. And we gave it to the doctor, and she said before I even walked in the room, she knew that I was on the spectrum just from all the information from when I was a kid. So it felt really good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good that it felt good. Because like all the signs are there. Like what what you just said. Um, like how I remember how I got diagnosed really. Like when I was younger, I had these you know like calm mats. Um, and then you had buses, you had every vehicle that you could name that were there, but all in different colours, all in different colours. So you might have some in red, some in white, some in green, some in purple probably. And then I lined them all up. I would line them up in certain colours. And I think that like I'd match things up, even if I might be playing it like the things where you can connect things as well, and I'd always put them in order, like in order, like the way they should go. And I think that that led to my diagnosis. But not only that, I did struggle with asking for help as well. When I was at school. So for example, we was in a classroom, and I felt like everyone knew what they were doing, and I wouldn't say anything. I'll say I knew what I was doing, just so I didn't think I was the dumb person in the classroom, not like, but the only person who didn't know what to do. Um, and then I'll get it wrong, like or I'll try and copy some people's. I'll try and copy, um, which in my mind I thought I shouldn't be doing this, but if I don't know what I'm doing, I did it just to fit in, I guess. Um, but yeah, I think that all kind of led to my diagnosis when I was younger. Um, and then for me, it helped. It's like getting a diagnosis really helps. Like with at that time, helped with like education. Because if you have a diagnosis, it helps you maybe get into a school that maybe is more suitable for people that who are on the spectrum and or who are autistic. Um, because yeah, it helps a lot, but it does help. I think whatever age you are, it doesn't matter if you're 9 or you're you're 40 or it doesn't really matter. I think you just kind of it helps you understand who you are and why you do these things. Like why do you perhaps why are you irritated by certain noises or stuff like that? Or you don't like large events, or you don't like a lot of people around you at one moment. So we kind of discover who we are, don't we, when we get these diagnoses?
Definitely. And kind of like you were saying, like you were, mimicking, what other people are doing. And even though, like that's not what you were supposed to be doing, but I think ultimately what I've figured out is like, I did that a lot of times just so I wouldn't get bullied. A lot of things that I did were to keep myself from looking different and or people noticing that I'm different, because if they notice that I'm different, they're going to treat me different and they're going to bully me more. But if I can do the things like they're doing, dress the way they're dressing, you know make the facial expressions that they're saying, say the trendy words or whatever it is, like just trying to become that other person almost, then maybe everybody will like me and I'll have friends and I won't be bullied. Um, and so I remember even doing that even when I was a teenager. Um, I mimicked, I started mimicking, the facial expressions and actions of one of my friends, and everybody knew it. But I thought that's what made him cool. I was trying to be that. I was trying to dress like that person and do these things, and so I completely understand. You know
Yeah,
what you were saying.
yeah. You do it to try and fit in, don't you? Like I understand, I understand, like especially at school, if you are getting bullied and stuff, and you maybe don't have many friends as you would like, you kind of do these things just to um like not look silly, I guess. Which we shouldn't say that really, but it's how it was when you're at school sometimes. And not a lot of knowledge in some schools, not all. Like of what autism is, and like the reason we get bullied is no one really knows what it is, and like I think that's where, like, I guess that's why a lot of autistic people do get bullied, because they don't have anyone to go to. And if you're autistic or not and get bullied, it's hard to speak out about it, isn't it? Because you feel if you do, it'll just get worse, and it does. And um, I spoke recently about my experience, Penny, and what would happen is I would go to a teacher, and because I'd done it lots of times, going to the teacher and telling them the same thing, and then they would just say to me, "Have you heard of the boy who cried wolf?" And then like kind of accuse me in a way that I'm the one who's lying and not telling the truth. And really, what I would love not to go to you at all and say I'm not getting bullied, that's fine, but they just don't take it seriously, and which is why I think every school, if it's not just schools suitable for people who have autism, I think every school out there should be doing better. Still doing better. Um, because I still hear certain people get bullied and like who are on the spectrum, and it's not good, because like what with my education, I went to kind of a public mainstream school, which was like big and had some people who had autism and lots of people that didn't. And when I left that school, load of people didn't understand it. There was a whole load of situations which I got in trouble with because I didn't understand, or communication was the key error really of that. And then I left, and then this is when I wasn't confident at all really as well. And if I could go back, 'cause had the year that the head teacher that asked me if I would go back and visit, and I said no, but well, I said yes, but I really meant no in my mind, but I wouldn't mind going back now just to see, did I do anything different now? Like with supporting people that have autism because they surely didn't when I was there. um, so I don't know. It would just be nice to go back to certain situations and see if they're dealt differently, or just going in a class and say, "Oh, are you doing anything different than what happened a few years ago?"
Definitely. And I even experienced that when I was in a couple years ago when I was in technical school, and with the teacher, and um, basically calling me out because in front of the whole class because I talked to my counselor about something um, and just asked for the schedule. That way I could know ahead of time what was going to have to be done. And he came in the class and outed me in front of everybody, and everybody knew it. And I got to a certain point where I started advocating for myself because I wanted to pass. And I was doing this for me, and I didn't want anybody to ruin that. And so um, they had a talk with the teacher and apologized. But somebody has to speak up, sometimes. But there also has to be somebody that will listen and will, you know, take you serious. And sometimes there's just nobody like that there. There,
No, yeah, completely agree. Like it's hard for people to take you seriously. Um, and the thing is, we wouldn't want to speak about this stuff anyway. Really, it's hard to speak about out to people, and especially to teachers, because what happened once is I tell a teacher that they give like detention or timeout to maybe people involved who are involved with the bullying, and then you just know what's going to happen next. It'll just be worse, and they'll deny it every time. Which is annoying, and which why a lot of people don't speak out about bullying, because that's the exact thing that happened.
and that can be a hard thing though too, because yeah, if you do that at work, if they know about your diagnosis, then yeah, it might help you in some of your things at your job, but it also might hurt you when it comes time for a raise or anything. You don't know if they're going to look at you different from that day forward, and not see the ability but see the disability. And so it can also be a bad thing. And I've felt like people treat me different after they knew my diagnosis and my work, and I didn't want to have to tell them, but um, it got to the point where they were writing me up for stuff that I didn't mean to do, or it was an accident, and I didn't feel like it was. It was just like, hey, I forgot to do this. Um, turn this paper in on time, or something. And I knew that I didn't want to lose my job because of a misunderstanding, and so I had to go to and talk to them about it. But then also at the same time, now I feel like they treat me different,
Mm.
and that's not what I just wanted. A little bit of understanding.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think like if people know that you're autistic and maybe in a job or any sort of environment, they might talk to you like you're a baby, or something like that, and give you tasks that you feel like maybe like that you could do, but you want maybe something maybe a bit more harder, or just something that you like don't want to be you don't want to be treated differently to than you was before, in a way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's very hard though, I guess, if people don't understand. Um, because like I guess it's more known now autism than maybe 20 years ago, but not everyone knows about it still, and it's crazy though. The thing would say that like, but still out there people who don't know, and like before pandemic, I went to this work experience placement thing, and I say I got autism, and then everyone's clueless. So that they don't know what it is, and I'm thinking, what? You don't know what autism is? What do you mean? You don't know what it is? And first I thought they were joking with me and or something, and then I felt they're serious, and then I get asked to do a little presentation about it, teach people, which is a little bit intimidating because like I was in this room and like everyone's in a circle around you, like you're in a game show. Um, and then and then I'm there talking about what autism is and telling them, for me, I've struggled to ask for help, and if I'm struggling for ask for help, why not ask? And I think one of them said, "Can you try and ask for help?" And I said, "Yeah, all I can do is try, but I don't know if I can." Um, and the particular job that was it did kind of require help, um, like and stuff. But it I guess if it helps people understand, um, it's good. It's good, but like it's just bizarre sometimes when people don't haven't heard of it before, because it's getting more known. But I guess really no one knows it more than ourselves that actually have it.
Definitely. I've had people, that have known me for a long time, and they just say, I would have never known, um, had you not told me the struggles that you have. And I said, that's a kind of an autism thing. It's like masking, but it's, if people don't know, it's not their fault. They just don't know. They've never been taught. And so, I try to do a lot of that. I try to, you know, share a lot of what other people say on different platforms, and just to help other people around me understand what autism is. And I do a lot of research, just like I'm sure every autistic person does, about autism. We know so much about it because we've lived with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There's so much information and so many topics that you could talk about surrounding autism. Because you've got masking, you've got all sorts of different things, and I think like with masking, I think more or less quite a lot of autistic people will mask in their life. Um, like if it's diagnosis or I kind of masked during my diagnosis because I didn't really want to, like you said, like it didn't want to be seen differently than before. And I want it to fit in, and like I think like in a way it helps with a lot of things, but like it's hard because it you don't want to be seen differently than you was before because you can still probably do the things you can. Like you could probably do painting, um better than me, Kenny. You I can't really do much of that, but like like perhaps we may be really intrigued in our interests. So, for example, you may talk about something really interesting to you, to maybe someone who doesn't really like that, and you still go on about it, perhaps. I know I've done in the past, and in my mind, I, I don't really care if they don't like it. I'll still go on about it 24/7 to them, and they can tell me to be quiet.
I've been known to start a conversation with people I don't know about my paintings. I feel like sometimes I almost con people into to asking me about my art.
Yeah. Yeah.
and it
It
and it can and sometimes we have those limited interests, and sometimes, like, even when we go out sometimes and there's a crowd of people, I don't know what to talk about, but I'm almost waiting for somebody to talk about one of my special interests or bring it up, and that way I can maybe get into the conversation.
yeah, yeah. So you like your art, you like your fishing. Do you have any other interests, Kenny?
um I like dinosaurs a lot.
You like dinosaurs, yeah. That's why you wanted to go back in time then.
Yeah.
What intrigued you about dinosaurs then?
I have a lot of dinosaurs in my house, and I don't know. I've always liked them. I just along I stopped talking about it or with people because I knew that a lot of people saw it as something only kids did. And after I got diagnosed, I was like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's where it
Like
came from.
dinosaurs if you want.
I think that's kind of what the art came from. Was once I got diagnosed, it was like I just there was no boundaries anymore. I didn't have to follow what everybody else did. I didn't have to. It was okay that I thought different. It was um, now I can. It was like it. My painting is like a a flower finally bloomed in my brain, and I'm like, what do I do with all this knowledge and the way that I feel and the things that I experience? What do I do with this? And I'm just like, it's like a verbal vomit onto a canvas. I just
Yeah, but blur it all out. What you're thinking?
yeah.
Like,
What do you what is one of the biggest struggles um that you feel like you still deal with as an adult that you wish to change?
um, probably burnout, I guess, in a way. I've always like it's always there, and I don't want to stop doing stuff I like to do. I always do certain things in orders and stuff like that. So I like to have a schedule. And then I kind of think to myself, I need to have a rest sometimes. Um, because if I don't, it's not good. It's not healthy, really. So I guess that. Because with I know we spoke about this before, but with running a podcast, I don't often have many. I had a few holidays last year. Like whenever I have a holiday, I guess that's my break. uh, like I've got a few planned this year, but like um, I guess I limit myself how much I do and um, like how much I want to do. Because if I do like with other interests, if we do more of them and maybe not as much as the ones that we used to, perhaps that just gives us a different light and what we can do and what we want to learn. Because if we don't, um, I love to focus on the same thing, but we have to change it sometimes, I guess. Like like there's friends that I have. I talk about Doctor Who to them. I tell them to watch it, and they don't do it. Which I found a good community that people do like them and are autistic. So I have my set of kind of friendships and stuff that like my certain things, but I guess we can't expect everyone to like everything. I guess you can't expect everyone to like art. I can't expect everyone to like we can't expect everyone to like our interests, but it's a plus if they do.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
I think one of the things for that's hard for me is like it. I am not good at technology, but I think it's because of I have really severe ADHD too,
yeah,
and I'm very impatient, and so a lot of times I feel like my autism and my ADHD are battling because I have a brain that wants to organize, but then I have a other side of my brain that's like go 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 unorganized, and so it's like um, a lot of times I don't understand sayings, but a friend of mine on Instagram, she said this and it made a lot of sense. And she said, my autism or my ADHD writes checks that my autism can't cash. And so, like, it just means that my ADHD sometimes overdoes stuff and my autism can't process it. And
yeah,
so, one of the hard things for me is just being able to um, deal with that because I'm very forgetful, like very, very, very forgetful. And my wife has to remind me to take my medicine, to get my phone, to my AirPods, my wallet. Did I finish my work notes? Did I do all this stuff? And and I don't want that. I wish I didn't have that, because I feel I'm embarrassed by it. But um, that's just one of those things that I wish I could change.
Yeah, yeah. I imagine it's very annoying for you, like because maybe sometimes you forget something, and you don't. Sometimes you don't really want to forget that certain thing, perhaps, and you do, and it must be really annoying sometimes. Mm.
They have medication. I take a something for my ADHD, but it doesn't help everything.
No, no. I guess that's medication for you. They're not going to help it all the time. Yeah, yeah. Like within like interests, like with your dinosaurs, I like collecting teddies and plushies. That's one of mine. Where I would go to an event or like or the, anywhere I see one I like and I'll get it. And like you say with dinosaurs, people may think it's like something you only like when you're kids, but it's the same thing with teddies. Like people only like some they'll say that about teddies, and like I can collect. Well, we can have what we want. Like teddies is great. It's like a great sensory toy as well. Um, like because whenever I go to sleep, I have this one particular teddy that I always sleep with. Uh, kind of, reminds me when I was a kid, but yeah, it's comforting.
I definitely have quite a few of those, and I have a dinosaur like pillow one that I sleep with, and I have my teddy too. I love those things, and I think that's it can also, from what I've read, there's a lot of people in the autistic community that do like kind of like it's like a trauma response, and we kind of use things from when we were younger, like teddies and and things like that, to be able to go back into that state of mind when things weren't so hard, when things were, there wasn't so many demands on us in the world. I'm not saying that's what you experienced, but like for me, it's like, I'm able to almost, go back into and be like, everything's okay, and there's not a lot of social pressures and stuff like that, because I'm only 5 or 6 years old, and so like for me that's like I love those things too, because I feel like that's my safe place. I don't know if that's
Yeah, me too. Like I like collecting anything that I'm interested in, really. But teddies is one of them. Like I'll go. Like when you go to the arcade machine, then you got the joystick where you get a teddy out and you lose every time, and I think, "Oh, I want that big one," and then I don't get it, and then it's silly, really. It's a con, really, because you never win, and then you get the person next to you up, and they win it straight away. Uh, um, but I loved all those type of things. Like I go to like, not at the moment, but when I have gone to different maybe games, like football matches over here, and I've got 2 away matches, I've always go into a shop and collect. I would always get a badge, but now I don't as much. I would rather collect like a teddy, like a mascot for them, because I think that's more better in a way than a badge. Even though badges are good, but I guess I just prefer the feel of a teddy than a badge because it's just more comforting. And I have loads, like I do have loads, but have to spread them out because otherwise it will be in one place.
I yes. I understand that. We can overdo things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I got some in here over there, and then just
I
somewhere in my actual room.
Cool. Um, do you? So weird question. Have you ever carried one around with you in public?
Yeah, I did. When I got one, I was on holiday last year, and I wanted to have a picture of it outside, but where I got it from, I want to have a picture of it, and then I try to hide it actually from people just so they didn't see I had it in my hand, um because I didn't want to get laughed at or anything. because, like you say, like people get stigma of like you have to be kids to do that kind of stuff and buy it, and like as much as they are for kids as well, like adults like to do that stuff too. And yeah, I have done that. What about you? Have you done that?
Uh, I have a few times. Like I will in my counseling sessions. I'll have my blanket and my dinosaur blanket and my the stuffed animal or whatever. But I not really a lot in public because I see a lot of you see a lot of girls that can do it, right? And nobody's really going to say anything to them. It seems like, but for a boy, there's the masculinity part of it where if you're around one of your friends that doesn't understand, they'll say something like, "What are you doing with that?" I was in a restaurant yesterday and I saw she was probably in her 20s. I don't know if she was autistic or not, but she was carrying a little plushie around with her, and it wasn't a big deal, But I know if it was me, it would probably be looked at different. Like, is why does he have that?
Mm. Yeah, it's like it's silly in a way if you think about it because like there's other things that like it's just annoying, because like you want to do it and you don't want to get judged for like just carrying one like carrying a dinosaur teddy perhaps or um my main teddy that I have is a red devil. Um, and I always get people always say it's ugly and stuff like that, and then I say that's not very nice. Like, I don't call your teddy ugly. It's panda. I don't call it ugly, and like, but I guess like sometimes I pretend it has feelings, and I say sorry, say sorry now, and then that's how it goes.
Well, and I think I wish it could be more normalized for people to be able to do things like that. But it's hard when you're living, almost two different lives, and when okay, I have to have a job and I have to seem professional, and I don't want any of those people to see me after work carrying a teddy because that's not the portrayal that I also it wouldn't be seen as normal within the workplace. Um, to have that and go talk to customers or something like that. And so nobody would really understand. So it's like I have two parts of me. One part of me that doesn't care what people think, but then the other part of me that doesn't want to get bullied.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Yeah, like I don't remember Karen bringing a teddy into school when I was younger. I guess it like I had teddies then, but I think I don't have any of them anymore. I think they've been them. But more so now. The last couple of years, it's been more of a thing where I collect more. I've always had the same sort of one, but I've just more collecting them now, and like I guess this point in my life, like when I was younger, I used to care what people thought maybe of me and my autism, and I would like that, which is why I'd maybe copy people and try and fit in more like that kind of way. But now I've got a diagnosis and I know more about it. I kind of if people don't like me for who I am, like if I carry a teddy around, and then that's fine. Like they did, you kind of know where. I guess you learn who your friends are as really. If people do judge you because you are carrying a teddy around, um, like it's a comfort for you. And it can like if you're having, it can calm you down as well if you're really anxious about certain things. But yeah, the only thing like for you, Kenny, if you do like take one in, like while you're painting, just make sure you don't paint on your teddy so you don't get dirty.
I have gotten paint pretty much everywhere. uh, dog. So I have an Australian Shepherd, and we've trained her. She's a service dog, but she's still in training for public manners and stuff like that. But she has all the the service things down, and so she'll lay on my chest and give me pressure if I tell her to, or if I'm stimming real hard and I don't realize it, she'll come and move my hands. And those are things that I didn't even teach her; she just did it on her own. And so a lot of times I can have her with me and kind of as my teddy. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Dogs are kind of your own teddy in a way, aren't they? Right.
yeah, I
Yeah.
got paid too.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess except that they move and a teddy, unless you move it, it moves.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, there's so much around teddies and autism. It's just really comforting. Um, like I haven't got any this year. I can't. I've been meaning to get the Scooby Doo teddy, from Scooby Doo. Um, I've always wanted that teddy. I love the dog, so that's on my list to get there, Kenny.
There's a really cool one here that's a dinosaur and it's about this big, but it's it's like a pillow, but it's also really heavily weighted.
Oh,
Like the whole back is heavy and weighted, and so I can almost use it as like a the pressure. It's almost like a pressure. It helps with pressure too. So it definitely has its benefits too. But we'll have to send each other pictures of ours.
yeah, yeah. There's so many to send. Yeah, there's so many to send. Um, I've got they are Builder Bears over there just behind me. Um, which one of them is a dog from Doctor Who K9, which is very cute. But yeah, I've got loads. Like, I think I put some of them in the cupboard because otherwise they'd be a bit cramped. Um, to move around with.
One time I decorated a Christmas tree. We didn't have any decorations, and so I had a bunch of Tiggers and Winnie the Poohs and different. And in the tree, it was different. We got it at the very end, but the way the tree was is the bottom of the tree there was like this much of the tree all the way around, and then it had a space about that much, and then it did the same thing again, and then it had another space. And so what I ended up doing is just decorating it with teddies, and it was like one of my favorite trees ever.
Oh, that's awesome. That is. Yeah. Like, I think, whenever Christmas comes around, we should be doing it with not just a Christmas tree. We should be doing a Christmas teddy's tree.
Exactly.
Yeah. I saw last year because a Dalek is from Doctor Who, and then I saw someone. I was on TikTok. That their family were not having a Christmas tree. They had a Christmas Dalek, where they put all their Christmas presents underneath the Dalek. I thought that's really cool. I wouldn't mind doing that instead of having a tree.
I mean, we can make our own things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fun for the future. Like, you don't have to have a Christmas tree. I know it's been tradition since the birth of Dawn, but you could do other things. Like, you could do a painting tree, perhaps. Um, there's so many
Painting
other
ornaments.
ideas. Mm,
I see a lot of ornaments too.
yeah, yeah. So there's so many good things which we'll have to, like we say, we'll have to send our pictures of our teddies to each other.
Yes.
Kenny, be great to see. Um, but before we finish, because we spoke about loads of things about like autism, painting, all of our hobbies. It's been really great chatting. Do you have like any last things or any advice that maybe just to finish off?
Um, I don't know if I would say advice, but I think that for me, the big things that I started doing, um, because I've noticed a lot of people can get sometimes negative in the community and stuff like that because of certain things that are going on and ableism and all of that, and it's very very important to have understanding and to make things like that make people understand how that affects us. But I think at the same time, I think um, I sometimes focused too much on the negative in the beginning of what was wrong and what I couldn't do, instead of what I could do and how I could change things around. And so one of the things that I started doing was, instead of so much talking about the negative, is um, you know, being more positive. Okay, what can I do? How can we change this? Um, Instead of talking bad about people, we help people understand what it is, and focus on the good things. Especially when it comes to like April and autism awareness, acceptance, appreciation. However you want to, call it. All of those things in some way or another are important. If you don't, you can't accept what you're not aware of, and so not everybody is aware of what autism is, and so they can't accept it, right? So there's got to be some, teaching behind that before people can accept it. But I think in the end, we all want to be appreciated and accepted.
Hmm.
And so in that time during April to focus on teaching others, and not being worrying about the negative, but trying to just help teach people, you know, the better way to approach us, to help us, um, so that we can be more productive people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree, because it's really important to be productive and busy, but it's also important to rest sometimes. um, but yeah, I completely agree. Like it's really good when we have this acceptance, but like it's really important all the time. But yeah, I love that, Kenny. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed coming on the podcast, because it's been really great speaking to you.
I was nervous about it, but
Mm.
I think really well, and I enjoyed talking with you, Mason.
Yeah, it's been really fun, Kenny, and we'll definitely do something again sometime. And I know we'll probably be spending millions of teddies to each other, so we so we've got a pretty few days there, or it might even take a year. But yeah, thank you, Kenny, and thank you to anyone seeing this today. We hope you've enjoyed it as well, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you, Kenny.
Bye, Mason.